y'all, welcome back to my channel. So I have my mom with me and today we're gonna do a story time. My mom and I have our own podcast, and recently on the podcast, my mom told me a secret. Yeah, it's called Chattermouth Podcast. Definitely go follow it and subscribe. But recently on the podcast, my mom told me a secret that she never told me, and I feel like we need a story time because I want to hear more in depth about this because it's something that I didn't know about.
Well, my mom,
yes, I didn't want to tell her because you thought I was gonna do it.
I wanted to make sure you wouldn't do it.
Anyway,
I don't even know why I told her now.
My mom was a hitchhiker. Okay, so let's do a whole story time. I want to hear everything. Like, why did you do it? How did you do it? What went down? And how am I just finding out about it now that you used to hitchhike to get everywhere?
I hitchhiked when I was young, before I had a car. So
that makes it even worse that you're that young to be a hitchhiker.
Well, in New York, you can't start driving till 17. In Florida, you can drive at 16. So at 16, I wanted to get around, and it was just, I did it one day because I was late for high school.
You hitchhiked to high school?
Well, yes.
I thought it was just to the club.
No, I hitchhiked to high school because it was, I had to get up so early in the morning, and it was, I had to get there. I'm always late for school. I'm never on time anywhere. So, and I lived in Brooklyn, and it was always public transportation. So waiting for the public transportation bus to come, it sometimes takes time. And it was already getting really late, and I didn't want to miss my first class. So I was standing by the bus stop, and I just saw a young guy driving. I said he was at a light. Excuse me, are you going this way? I just want to go to the high school. He says, sure, I'm passing that way. So I went in. He dropped me off. I got there in 5 minutes, and it was so easy. So then that was like the first time. But then I said to my friends, we loved going out to clubs, and we had fake IDs. Oh, those years it was fake birth certificates, so we didn't have to worry about the ID with the face.
That makes it so much easier.
Oh
so
my God,
can everybody have a fake birth certificate?
Probably. You just had to memorize the birth certificate. Who was your mom? Who was your dad? Who was, when you were born and all that.
No photo. So much easier.
No photo was so easy. And I always looked older for my age.
So interesting. And now that you're older, you look younger.
Thank
God.
So
lucky. You're so lucky. When you're older, when you're young, you always want to look older. And when you're older, you want to look younger. So you're like,
never happy.
Yeah, lucky ducky.
So anyway, I said to my friends, we wanted to go out to clubs, and they were always far away. They were either in Manhattan or they were in Long Island. And how are we going to get there? How are we going to get there? We didn't drive.
And there was no Uber back then.
There's no Uber. And then when we started driving, even when we got a little older, who wants to drink and drive? We want to go out and have a good time. So what's the best way to go? Hitchhike.
No way.
So a lot of times we'd get all dressed up. I feel like a hooker at this point.
Oh my God, seriously?
We would all get dressed up. It's okay, we're going to get into the city. We're going to get into Manhattan. So we'd get dressed up. We would stand kind of like at the corner.
Oh my gosh, this is why they're all letting you in their car.
Of a main street, And I never wanted to go into a truck. I always wanted it to be a car. I don't know why, but I always wanted it to be a car, not a truck. So I kind of would then knock on their window and say, excuse me, are you going to Manhattan? Or, and sometimes they weren't, but then they said, sure, and they would take us. And sometimes we would go in with a bunch of guys in the car too, not just one guy.
You were just going. Where were they going?
I don't know where they were going, but then they ended up hanging out with us. And then we would all go to the club together. always found guys to take us home. But they didn't just take us home. We would end up going to a diner those days, and I would have those delicious thick shakes, because you know how you get the munchies after you drink all night, you get hungry. So the diners were open 24 hours. So we would all go to the diners afterwards, and they were diners by my house all the time. And we would have thick shakes and malteds, and it was so delicious. And we would eat and everything, and then they would take us home.
But wait, so you would meet a guy at the club, and then they would take you home? Weren't they like, yeah, I'll take you home to my house, like, want to come back with me?
No, I never did that. No. They take my friend and I home. But the thing is, who would go home first? I always wanted to go home before my friend.
Well, that's so scary.
But it always depended on where we were located is who would get dropped off.
Why wouldn't you just have a sleepover?
We did. We always went home to our own houses at night.
So dangerous. I don't understand. Why didn't you take a taxi or your parents?
A taxi those days were a fortune to go from the city back to.
So you had like good hitchhiking experiences, which like blows my mind. Was there any bad hitchhiking experiences?
One time I had a bad only one time I had a bad hitchhiking experience. I was driving in the car with this guy, and I noticed that it didn't seem like we were going in the right direction. So I said something not right, and I didn't like it. So I said to him that I'm just feeling really sick, and I think I'm going to throw up. And he pulled over, and I jumped out of the car, and I started, walking really fast away, and he didn't come after me. But luckily, his car didn't have child locks. I was able to open it and say, I'm really sick, I gotta get out. So as soon as the light came, I got out, and I really ran. Yeah, and that was it. And then I got someone else to take me.
Oh my gosh.
But I met so many great people.
Don't advertise this as a good thing.
I met a lot of guys that I dated even from.
Really?
Yeah.
You went on an actual date? Who? Really? Well, not that I'll know them, but like.
Yeah, I really did. Should I tell you this?
What?
I would skip a class because I liked the guy. We'd end up talking and going for breakfast, and then I'd go to my next high school class.
You would know that quickly?
He would say, would you want to go for breakfast? The diners were always a very big thing in my day.
Wow.
So we'd go to a diner, we'd have eggs, or we'd have,
I feel like you were so cool. You always tell me you were such a nerd, but you seem like you were really cool.
Yeah, I wasn't that cool. I was a nerd, though.
Doesn't sound like it at all. No, I think you just said that to me so that I would be more of a nerd.
No, I was a nerd, though. Yeah.
I don't think so.
I was a nerd until I was able to go shopping for myself and get my own clothes.
I feel like she's such a rebel. Who knew you were such a rebel? Such a rebel girl. This hitchhiking story, this is crazy.
It was fun.
I think you need to give a PSA to everyone though, not to do that.
Yes, definitely. Those were the years when it was okay and things were back then. It's not okay to hitchhike now. You can't trust anyone now. There's child locks on the car doors.
It's not safe.
So the person that's driving can lock all the car doors and you can't get out. Do not hitchhike nowadays. Please do not do that.
Well, thank you, Mom, for sharing your story, your hitchhiking world. Crazy.
Yeah.
I like looking differently. You're too cool now. I always thought you always talked about being such a nerd. Liar,
I
liar.
have lots of stories.
This is a fun story time. Anyways, thanks so much for watching my mom's hitchhiking journey story time. Hope you all enjoyed this. She's so much fun. We're gonna have to bring her back on here all the time for story time. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.